I like this chart a lot. In a traditional project management, what we do is we go to the customer and we say, what do you want? And they say, we want this and that and so on. We write down all of those features. Then we say, okay, how many people will it take to do? We figure out we need a database person and we need a UI person and we need this many coders and senior and junior and all this sort of stuff. Then we do a work breakdown structure and we put all the activities and we create a schedule. Okay. So we first of all look at the features, then we look at the resources and create the schedule. If something goes wrong, we either add resources or we change the schedule. Typically. Now, in Agile, you put together a team and you have a team of resources. And you set a schedule, which is a time box of, let's say, 30 or 60 days. And then you ask, what is it that we can actually create in 30 or 60 days? Like actually produce, having something tested. What features can we do? Can we create? Now, if something goes wrong in those 30 days, let's say you find out you've made a mistake or you don't understand the requirements or it's going to take longer, you didn't have enough, whatever. What changes is the features. The number of features. Something gets left behind for the next iteration. So what's interesting about traditional versus Agile is that these are set, so these are fixed in traditional, the features, whereas the resources and the schedule is fixed in Agile. And what is flexible and dynamic and in traditional would be the resources and the schedule, whereas in Agile the features are what changes or what's flexible. Does everybody get that? Okay. Agile, sorry. Agile is not informal. It's not hack and pack. I love that. Cowboy coding, not cowboy coding. It's not document free. It's not a free-for-all. No, it's not. In fact, what I have seen is, in particular, software programmers, they really hate to do documentation, don't they? And I've seen that some software programmers, they say, hey, let's do Agile. Because they think the project overhead is going to go away. Well, they're wrong. They're very wrong. And they're actually in for a surprise. Because you still need to do your documentation, but now you're doing it all the time, not just in the project, right? You still need to plan for your iterations and do all the project planning. But now you're doing it iteration by iteration. And then you're also adjusting your plan on a daily basis. So really, it's in a lot of ways takes more discipline to run an Agile project than it does a more traditional project. And from a project management perspective, what I have found is that you can't sit back. There's no time to sit back, ever. So when I was working at a large reinsurance company many years ago, we would do status reporting like on a weekly basis. I was also doing requirements gathering and many other things, but we would just do status reporting on a weekly basis, or when we got around to it in some cases. Whereas in Agile, you actually have to do status reporting like on a daily basis. You need to really know what's going on every single day, because you only have 30 days, for example, to get something done. And it's easy to let something can slip very, very quickly. You're almost doing things in real time. Probably scaring you. Now we're going to we're going to get now into the tedious part of this presentation, and I apologize. But I'm just not sure how to show you and tell you about this in a more way. So, just to start with, now we're going to talk about how to bridge Agile and PMBOK. So, PMBOK, and this is my opinion, is an overarching methodology over which Agile sits. Agile is a product development methodology, and PMBOK is a project management methodology. Agile doesn't talk about integration management, really. They talk about scope, time, cost. Quality is sort of in there because the customer is involved and you're testing and you're monitoring, so yes. Agile doesn't really talk about human resource management. It kind of makes some assumptions about communication. It makes some assumptions about risk. It doesn't talk about procurement at all. There are many, many, many good things that we can take from PMBOK and use in an Agile context. And you want to. You want to. And every implementation of Agile that I am aware of, particularly of large companies where they've got a lot of overhead, they continue to use something like PMBOK or whatever their methodology is, and they overlay that on an Agile methodology. Now, the following slides are really my opinion, and you may have some different opinions on this. And I encourage you to chat with me afterwards. These are just my opinions on how these things are changed between Agile and PMBOK. I'm going to spend time on particular time integration management and scope. Perfect. So, if you see the green little check marks, things haven't changed. If you see the red triangles, that means that I think that there's some adjustment or change. Now, you'll still do integration. In fact, you do all of the processes. Nothing gets out. You're doing all of these activities. I think the key difference is the emphasis and timing with which you do these activities. The project management plan is probably one of the main, a key difference. You do not define all of the elements of a project in detail at the beginning of the project. So we're used to doing these very massive requirements analysis and activity breakdowns and all of that stuff in order to create the project plan. In Agile, you really only look at one quarter or one release, and then you become very, very detailed at each iteration. Now, some people will say, well, hold it, we have a whole year and we need to plan beyond that. And my comeback there is, yeah, what I have done with some of my customers, clients, and people that I work with is we kind of do a very, very high-level planning for the entire year. We look at the entire list of requests, enhancement list, or features, and we kind of throw them down on the calendar just to see if we have enough people. So we kind of look ahead for a year. But then we really only look at 3 months. We take the highest priority things, and then we look at 3 months. And then we look at very, very big detail for each iteration.